a new feature of Krakatoa v2.3 is the ability to control shaders using a per particle specific shader dedicated channel to control certain attributes. So let's start again. Actually, I'm going to open a scene that I have pre-saved. Here is my webinar, and this is what I need. So I'm going to close this because it's not relevant anymore. All I have here is a PLT surface with from a sphere. If I hit the render, it's going to get a few million particles from that and will shade it. And what we are seeing here, I'm going to open now the render settings and show you the settings. Right now I'm using Funk surface. The Funk surface has normally a specular power and specular level. And in the previous versions of Krakatoa for Maya, they were global for the whole scene. Now we have added checkboxes, and these checkboxes allow us to enable per particle channels to control each one of those attributes per particle. So couple of things that I want to do. I'm going to switch this guy to debug mode so we can see a little bit more in the log. I'm going to capture this one so we remember what it looks like. I'm going to disable the true checkboxes here, and I'll hit render again. This will generate new particles. And this is what you would normally get from a PLT surface shaded with Funk shading with the same value for each particle, which is specular power 10 and specular level of 100. You have to keep in mind that the UI actually exposes it 100 times larger than it is internally. It uses an actual value of 1 internally. So when you're setting the specular level channel, you set 1 and you get the value of 100. The UI was exposed this way because, once again, Krakatoa for Max used that value in order to match the Max shaders that looked like that. But anyway, we have now this version, and I'm going to capture this one true, and you can see the difference between the two. The one is controlling it with an actual noise texture. I'm going to show you how this was done. We have this texture here. It's the modifier that says apply texture. It writes it in a custom channel called Bubble. That channel doesn't even exist. It gets created and the color gets written into it. And it's using the position because it's a 3D texture. Here it is. I'm actually using the volume noise, which is the Maya texture map applied to all the particles. And then in the Magma, if we take a look at the Magma, I'm reading the channel Bubble, which didn't exist before. It gets created in the previous step. I read it, I get the color, and I pass it to the specular level. It's not actually a color, but the magnitude of the color that was generated, because I need a float for this and a float for this. And I can multiply. Right now I'm multiplying by 1, so it's not changing, but I can change the specular power to a different value if I want it here in the Magma. And now if I go and take a look at the log of Maya, we'll see that when it was evaluating the channel somewhere, there is a lot of the work going on here. I have to figure out where it went and why it's printing so much. But basically, the idea is, and I can actually show you even easier. You have to trust me that the log would show it, but the UI it's also showing it. Here we can see we have 32 bytes per particle. And if I start enabling those channels, additional channels will be added, and now we are 36 bytes per particle. It's not really awful. We added 4 bytes to store 2 channels in a float 16 format. Not a big deal, but if you switch to the Mashna shader and start checking all these checkboxes, your channel map will get really big, and you can get up to 58 bytes per particle. So you need a lot more memory if you'll be specifying all of this. So you should enable those channels only when you really intend to use per particle data. If you enable this and don't specify that channel, this value will be copied into the channel for each particle. So you still have the behavior of global, but you'll be wasting memory. Each particle will have the same value. Let's go back to our Funk and try to render with only the specular level on, and the other one will keep the power or stay as it was. So if I render now, we'll get a different effect. And I'll store this one. And you can see this was without the effect. This is with both on. This is with just the specular level. And now I'll do just specular power. So it looks completely different. These are 4 different looks that we're creating by just enabling those channels and controlling various attributes per particle using right now just a noise, volumetric noise texture map. But you can use pretty much any matte in Magma to define the color. You can even shoot rays, and if you hit a certain object, get some surface properties in the site, what the specularity will be here, or stuff like that.